It's Toronto's podcast on the Canada's Podcast Network.
Hi everyone, I'm Phil Bliss, a business visionary. Welcome to Toronto's podcast, part of the Canada's Podcast Network, your source for great insights from entrepreneurs across Canada. Today I'd like to introduce you to Patricia Tish Conlin. She heads up the Global Consulting Group, a leading talent solutions company with about 25 years finding leaders for our clients in IT, engineering, real estate, finance, and healthcare companies. GCG has end-to-end solutions for talent acquisition, executive coaching, wellness and transition, along with retirement transition solutions. As well as building GCG, Tish is passionate about wellness. As a registered holistic nutritionist, certified emotional and social intelligence trainer, and black belt martial artist, Tish has seen the difference coaching makes to improve lives and performance. Tish is a well-known speaker, and her first book, The ABCs of Food, Boost Your Energy, Confidence and Success, is now available. And she's writing her second book on building inner resilience. So Tish, I've really been looking forward to this session. Welcome to Canada's podcasts. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from. Give us the details on your current business and, things that are important to you, basically.
Wow. Well, thanks very much, Phil. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. And I must say, I really enjoy listening to this podcast series. It's a great platform for budding entrepreneurs and existing entrepreneurs. So thank you for all your hard work to create this great content. It's fantastic. But yes, my journey is unique, as they all are. I've always been a little bit of an entrepreneur growing up. I always had my own small business, whether it was selling crafts or garage sailing, etc. I had multiple interests. I was passionate about food and health. I had a scholarship to be a food scientist, actually. But my other passion of culture and language took over. And in university, I ended up doing my third year abroad in Germany and ended up with an arts degree. When I graduated back in the 90s, it was a bit of a recession and it was hard to find a job. I had a short contract working for the Quebec government. And unfortunately, that experience, working in a slower pace, a lot of disengagement and apathy in the office. And it was really hard to keep the motivation up. My boss left after 1 week and I didn't know what to do. So I created my own job and I realized I am much more of an entrepreneur suited to that faster pace. So promptly looked for a role in Toronto, joined an executive search firm, and within a year, unfortunately, they went bankrupt. So 1 year out of university, I started Global Consulting Group. And with my mother and father's wonderful support, in one of the bedrooms converted, I started the company and never looked back. And so I had a lot of fun building it and was able to use all my languages. I have 3, although it's hard to keep them up.
That's great, yeah.
And got some great clients, some great adventures along the way, built my team and, diversified our product line in sectors over the years. So it's been a great ride.
I spent a lot of time in recruitment in my early career as well. We probably were competing with each other, but that's another story.
Yes, it is.
So you kind of did this, but what was the stop moment? I mean, I'm always interested. You kind of covered it a little bit. What was what I term the stop moment when you decided, I got to become an entrepreneur?
Well, it always has been in me. I realized not everyone is wired to be an entrepreneur, and that is okay. But for me, the freedom and flexibility, the creativity and the pace always drove me. So really, my whole life has been working as an entrepreneur. And when the company went bankrupt, I remember back then I had recipe cards. So I'd been building my client base, writing them down diligently. I took them home and I told my parents. It was not even a second thought. I'm starting my company tomorrow. incorporating. I'm going all out. This is going to be it. First, they looked at me like, are you sure? And then they knew me well enough to go, okay, let's go for it. So I never really looked back. And along the way, I've diversified my service offerings. I've done innovating. We've started an RPO program, which is kind of a outsource recruitment. It's going fabulously.
Good.
And a number of our other services, coaching and wellness, have happened organically within our client base based on need and great relationships we've built.
So how do you maintain your focus? I mean, you know, it's so, my experience of entrepreneurs is we're so busy.
Yes.
You know, how do you kind of separate being busy from, maintaining the focus that you need to succeed?
It's a great question, Phil, and something I've struggled with over the years, also being a mother of two very active young boys and some of the other challenges in life. But I think having developed this ability to focus as a martial artist over the years, I mean, this intense focus, people tell me it's one of those things about me. I'm able to get a lot done quickly. And that real narrow focus, I think learning how to concentrate deeply on tasks and really improve output. And a lot of people now are juggling multiple tasks at once. They say now multitasking is actually not as effective as working on one task at a time. So I try to chunk my work into a 60 or 90-minute segment where I'm doing, for example, all business development. I'm responding only to emails, and I'm not going back and forth between tasks. And I find I get a lot more done that way, and I don't have to work as long hours. So for me, that really works well.
I mean, how do you get past that, that what I term kind of the entrepreneurial glass ceiling where you end up spending 70 hours a week working, and how do you get to, that's the execution side of it. I mean, how did you get to sort of, you said you like to have some time and you've got your kids and everything else. How did you manage to do that? Because it's a real problem for entrepreneurs that I find anyway.
You're right. And it's something, I mean, I do coaching as well. And I think I teach people, number one is you want to maintain high energy levels. If you're not healthy and you don't have good habits, you end up wasting a lot more time. So that's one thing. So I make sure I have those healthy times in between work where I'm, recharging my battery so that I don't waste time. Also prioritizing. A lot of stuff just doesn't need to get done right away. So you work on the things that, that are high priority for your business. Client needs are always first. You want to have excellent client relationships. There's a lot of things you can outsource too. I mean, I've learned to outsource and the costs relative to if you did them yourself. I think there's a value to outsourcing where needed. So I've built a good team of people who can do the things that are complementary to me so I can focus on the core areas that we need to grow the business. That's helped me save time as well. But it is a problem. And even now, I'm not gonna, honestly, there are some times that I'm working those long hours, but other times I balance it back again. So I make sure I have a outlet every day. Like usually a couple times a week, I swim on my lunch hours. A couple times a week in the morning, I do a fitness or yoga class. So I try to keep it really balanced, and I tend to get more done that way. Works for me anyways.
Let's move to Toronto, which is what this is all about. What are the biggest benefits for you for being an entrepreneur in Toronto? Why here? Why not somewhere else?
Well, I mean, I'm an absolute fan of Toronto. I mean, I love Toronto. I grew up, I was born in Sudbury, Ontario, but moved to North GTA when I was still very young. My father was a mechanical engineer and traveled here, and, the opportunities were here. So I have a great friend base here, although now friends, they go across Canada and we keep in touch, but excellent associations for some of our key sectors in IT and engineering, real estate, and the healthcare sector. I do speaking engagements here. I mean, there's just even the Toronto Film Festival. The arts here are phenomenal. I like to support that. Toronto is a great city, so I feel really lucky to be able to have a business here. And I find I was very fortunate to be able to purchase a house on the main street of Markham and convert it into a commercial property. So that has been a great value add, having that piece of real estate under my belt as a business owner too.
So is there a place in Toronto or close to the city, which is where you live, that you like to recharge, get inspired, think?
Yes. Well, for me, I mean, my father passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago. Wonderful man and a really great carpenter as well as an engineer. So I inherited the cottage. So I love to go up north and putter away just like he did and
Mm-hmm.
work on things with my kids and partner.
Mm-hmm.
I like to run I like to get into the forest. I mean, Durham, I live actually in Durham, which is just outside. So I spend time in the forest there and also in my community by the lake. And I'm not an avid gardener, but I'm a budding gardener. So learning as I go. Every year we expand our vegetable garden. So I like to spend time in the garden as well. I find that really a great recharge.
So what does the first hour of your day look like? When is it? When is that first hour?
Yes.
Do you have a routine? I'm always interested, to find out what people's routines. It's kind of interesting.
Yes. Well, for me, I mean, because I have two very active boys, 12 and 11, first hour is kind of getting up, hustling up breakfast, feeding the cats, getting lunches going. I must confess that although I'm extremely high energy, people say I'm not an early riser. It's not natural for me. So usually my youngest son has to prod me to get up. Mommy, get up, get up. So he's the early riser. But right from there, it's full steam ahead. In the mornings, I usually talk to my team, get our focus for the day. What are our priorities? Usually within the first hour that happens. If I'm driving to work, then I'm listening to a great podcast or one of my books, my audio books, which I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm working from home, which I do, then I often start my day with a fitness class that gets my energy going. And exercise is so good for, everything, just confidence, etc. So that's usually my first hour. And then it's nonstop after that, literally flying everything right to the end.
Well, you kind of sort of talked about this, being entrepreneurs being wired differently. Now, you're being in recruitment, you see a lot of people. Any insights on to how we're wired differently? And just
Well, I mean, I wanted to say because a number of years ago, I switched, I built other divisions within my company, and I didn't do that for no reason. I have a degree, but I went back to school to become a registered holistic nutritionist and got certified as a emotion intelligence trainer because there was so much happening, not only in my life, but with people coming to me who were seeking jobs, who were breaking down, who were stressed out, who were facing chronic illness. So I switched gears to become more diversified and also started coaching. And when I meet people who are building their own company, some people are they're not suited for being an entrepreneur, and they realize that very quickly. But other people are, and there's not one way or the other. So I'm just saying, not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. But for me, it was a driving need to be an entrepreneur. I've always been driven and passionate, and I think entrepreneurs have a higher risk tolerance for sure. We have a higher need for self-actualization to put our own stamp on things. And I think we like to control the process and be in charge. I think a little bit more. Entrepreneurs can accept the risk, maybe the failure, maybe have a bit more stamina. And I think sometimes just have that burning desire to create something.
I think resilience is a
Yes,
requirement for sure.
absolutely.
Sure,
But I haven't regretted a moment of it through all the ups and downs and the failures and successes. It's been a great journey for me. I love it, every second of it.
So here's the question: what books are you reading, or audiobooks? Because you said you like to listen to audiobooks, and what would you recommend sort of currently amongst those?
So for me, I am a voracious reader, like a lot of people. I mean, voracious maybe, but I love reading. It goes in spits and starts. But recently, listened to 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. I thought it was an excellent book. Daring Greatly Brene Brown was good, really good. And Mastery, Robert Greene, is a great book to listen to if you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to build something. I thought it's a great book, classic. I listened to The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. I love books on personal transformation. And, I'm also interested in fantasy and sci-fi. When I'm not reading, I love to watch Game of Thrones. I'm a big fan of that series. Wow, that last show was excellent. So I'm very diverse in my reading, and obviously garden books, nutrition books, health books. I mean, I have a really wide range of books that I'm interested in. But for business leaders, I think those ones I recommend are good. And I also like Dan Goleman, who coined the term emotional intelligence. He wrote a great book on focusing, which is good for entrepreneurs. Focus, getting in the zone. And when I'm doing training, I often recommend that book to people.
So if you weren't doing what you do now, what would you like to do for a profession?
Well, that's another great question. And I mean, I've always been good in sales and fell into recruitment and never looked back and had great adventures. But I think my passion over the last decade has turned, as I mentioned, to speaking, training, and coaching. I mean, I went through a decade where I lost my mother, my father, I even lost my husband, chronic illness, and, also while raising two children. And so I realized there's a lot of ways we can prevent things and help people to lead healthier and happier lives. So I really love to get more involved in speaking and podcasting. So, it's something that I love to do. So I'd love to get more involved in that too.
So the opposite, what kind of job wouldn't you like to do?
Oh, geez, there's a lot of them. I know, my first experience out there, I like meaning, purpose, and I'm extremely motivated and driven. Any job I ever had as a temp, I'd be like, I get it done. What's next? I mastered this. What's next? So I love to learn. I love to be valuable and useful. So I need a job where I'm helping something, something actually for a better cause or better reasons. So, I mean, there's a lot of jobs that just don't suit me, like tedious sort of jobs. And I know customer service as well would be one where I probably would end up saying something that I regret.
Yeah, I've been told that quite candidly. So,
But I do admire. I'm always nice to people who call me, even anyone, because I know that's tough.
So in business, what's your favorite word? What do you like? How do you your favorite expression, if you like?
Well, I have a lot of, historical figures who I really admire. People like Leonardo da Vinci, ahead of their time, Benjamin Franklin, and of course, having studied German literature, Goethe. And there's an expression that I love that Goethe says. I mean, he's an amazing man. At the moment of commitment, the universe conspires to assist you. So I think when you really want something and you go all in and you focus and you believe in it, I think you can do amazing things. So I think that's a great quote. For sure.
Okay. Yeah. How would you describe yourself in a couple of words? Who is Tish?
I am passionate, driven, focused, and funny. I've been told I'm, especially if I've had a glass of wine, life is too important to take seriously, I always think.
So, well, I live in wine country, so I kind of understand that.
Yes. Okay. I love good food and good wine. Life is good.
So what keeps you up at night, if anything? Maybe nothing keeps you up at night.
Well, no, actually, I mean, as a registered holistic nutritionist as well, I've struggled with good sleep. And so when I'm coaching people, I always recommend magnesium. I have to give that nugget to people out there, entrepreneurs, because magnesium is a vital mineral, so important for our health. And a lot of people are deficient, and it helps you sleep better. So I have struggled with sleep because I have a very active mind. I juggle multiple businesses. But the thing that has kept me up the most in my life as a woman, as well as conflict, is people conflict and trying to solve it and trying to create harmony. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But I have learned in my career that, particularly with clients, and I have great clients now, but if it's not working, sometimes it's best to fire them, and just
it's one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur.
Yes. But yeah, I've been blessed with wonderful friends, family, relationships, but usually the people side, how to help people become their best. That's what keeps me up.
What are the top 3 things on your, what we term, inspired life list? those top three things.
What do you mean, things I want to do? Or
Yeah.
Well, I really want to speak more. It's in me. I've been told I'm decent at it.
Yeah.
So I'm building my speaking career. I've done a lot of speaking within my own sector, in the recruitment sector, been a keynote. And just in the last year or two, I'm breaking into other verticals,
Okay.
booked for different associations, health, whether it's sales, human resources, or just, leadership. So platforms and summits. So I'm really excited about that. And I am, I want to be a great mother. That's really important to me as much as my business, building two responsible, resilient boys. That's that's important. They're both competitive soccer players. So like me, I was.
Okay.
So that's a big project. And then just, I do want to finish my next book. So I've started it, a book on resilience. I've tentatively called it Thrive Mind or Thrive Reality. I haven't decided yet, but I'm hoping to have that completed by next year.
Okay.
And that would be a wonderful accomplishment if I could.
So I always want the gem thing. If you have any advice that you've received that made a difference that you want to pass on to other entrepreneurs, I think this is all about a community of entrepreneurs listening to each other and learning from each other.
Yes.
What would that gem be?
Well, I mean, it's an amazing question, and not having thought about it too much, I mean, there's so much I could say, but really, it's important to know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. As an entrepreneur, you're going to fail, you're going to make mistakes, accept that, learn from it, don't beat yourself up. And if you have a vision and you have a passion for something, keep going, you're going to learn, and don't focus so much on the final result. You must be successful by this date. Focus on the journey and process improvement each step of the way, and enjoy the journey, have fun with it, and try to keep it as balanced as possible, because people do burn out. So as a health coach, I want to make sure that that is received. Okay. There was a great, I listened to someone, and I can't remember who at this point, but they talked about the importance of paying attention out there. So you never know what's going to happen if you're paying attention. Great things can happen, and constantly show wonder and awe in life. Be amazed, be thrilled with things, show excitement, and then tell others. So in your product messaging and your service, get that excitement and energy into what you do, and good things will happen.
So here's the tropical island question, which if you listened, you might have heard it.
Yes.
So there's a small tropical island just off Fiji, one phone booth, no internet. Okay. We drop you off there.
Is there any food? That's the one thing no one seems to answer that.
I know. Well, there's a big sea, so you can.
Oh, only fish.
You don't have a computer. You don't have a smartphone or anything like that.
Jeez.
You can use the phone booth located there anytime to call the boat back. How long would you last?
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, if there's no food and water,
there's food and water if you're prepared to work at it.
Okay. And no books either. I can't even bring my books. No, if there's not a hammock either, not even a nice hammock, I'm not sure how long I'd last. Because even though I'm a Survivor fan, I watch it with the family, and I, as a martial artist, and I'm a pretty tough woman, I think, I could stick it out, but at least they have company and rice, and you're competing for $1 million. If it's just me on an island, I think I'd pick up that phone. I might sit by the ocean for a day. I do like my own solitude, because I rarely get it. So just watching the awe of the ocean, but maybe I'd call the next day, because I've got a lot of stuff to do. And my boys would be.
For me, it might be 3 or 4 days for me. I'm a bit like that.
It's not long, that's for sure. But
so that's great. That's
if I had books, I could stay a week and just read.
It's a great question, because we get completely different answers.
Yes,
from everyone.
no, it's fun. It's fun. Thanks.
So, how can our listeners get a hold of you? Is there anything you'd like to add that I've missed before we kind of leave today? Anything on that front?
Yes. Well, for my coaching business, I have my speaking and coaching site is www.tishconlin.com, TISHCONLAN.com. I have developed some online courses I'm really thrilled with, and I've been building my affiliate network, which I'm really excited about. So I have transformational health and success 6-session videos, and you can subscribe to my newsletter there. For my talent services company, my consulting firm, it's www.globalconsultinggroup.ca, and you can learn more about us there. We've lots of tips and tools for job seekers and for people, small business owners as well, on both sites, and both have newsletters you can subscribe to, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have it's Patricia Conlin, Patricia brackets Tish Conlin on LinkedIn or other social media, Facebook as well. We have the page, and Instagram and Twitter.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks very much, Tish. We kind of bumped into each other about 4 years ago. It's nice seeing you, and appreciate the input. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been my pleasure. It's been a great show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone, for taking the time today to listen to Toronto's podcasts on the Canada's Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Make sure you sign up for our newsletters or write a review for us on iTunes. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or at canadaspodcast.com, where you can listen, discover, and engage with other entrepreneurs. You can also check out what other entrepreneurs are doing across the country, from coast to coast. So I'll see you next time. It's been great to have you.